matches, three wins, 9 points, eight goals scored, one conceded. Well, it does sound poetic, and I must say this was translated onto the pitch that we saw with Indian football team, the men's team. And I just read out this is a start of one of the articles written on the Indian national team's performance on ESPN.in. It's an article written by Sunan Sagar. So shout out to him that he's given me also some opening lines to start my show. You're listening to the Totally Indian Football Show. I'm your host Siju, and if you're wondering, I'm just assuming that you were wondering why is the episode not out on Wednesday, is because we want to wait till the qualifiers of the Asian Cup getting over, and then so that we can talk about it. And we have a very special guest. We all know him. If you're a sports fan, you do know him, and especially if you're a Tamilian who follows sports, you should and you must know him. Raghu sir, welcome to the show. Thank you so much for joining.
Thank you, Siju. Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure.
Great. So let's kickstart the show. So as we know, we're talking about the recently concluded AFC Asian Cup qualifiers for 2023, and we were expecting the national team to get nothing less than three wins against the teams Cambodia, Afghanistan, and Hong Kong, respectively. But when it started off, Hong Kong got a win, and then we had 2-0 victory against Cambodia, and we were like, oh, there are surprises in here, and how do we now go ahead, and we went on to win 2-1 against Afghanistan, then 4-0 against Hong Kong. So let's start with first, what were your expectations, and what did you think going into this qualifiers?
Siju, I have a question to you. Did you expect the team to finish the job with such aplomb? Conceding one goal, three wins out of three matches. Did you really expect the team to do so well?
Not by you, if you are put me on a spot, not with these numbers, not with these numbers at
Absolutely.
least.
Now the job is done. We are all taking stock. We are looking back with fondness at the results. But I do think that many people expected a challenge to the national team because there was pressure, even though the teams were ranked much lower than India. I seriously thought they were going to pose some trouble to us. Happily for us, except for that equalizer from Afghanistan, nothing much to worry about. Job well done. Huge relief. Much needed boost to Indian football.
Yes, absolutely. And then after the first match, okay, we got 2-0, and we've heard other podcasts and other shows cover in terms of, we also spoke about probably it's a chance missed out in terms of scoring more goals against Cambodia, because it might just come down, hurting us again as we proceed to play Afghanistan and then Hong Kong. Because as I started saying that, Hong Kong really pulled a surpriser against Afghanistan. So how did you see? Did you, after the first match, what did you think? We were playing a familiar team in Afghanistan, and what did you think of the mindset that the national team brought out? Because the first half ended, I think, goalless, if I remember right.
Yeah. All happened in the. I mean, Cambodia match. In the Cambodia match, I don't think our performance was great. Uh, I mean, you could put it down to nerves, some rustiness in a competitive match because people were looking at this match, right? It was not a friendly. The pressure was on the team. I expected a much better show against Afghanistan, even though uh, India conceded a goal right after scoring one. The performance was much better than the Cambodia match. I mean, many fans would have felt more nerves after the Cambodia match because Afghanistan were coming back after an unexpected loss, as you put it. So they would have expected a response from Afghanistan because they have not qualified for a major event in their history. So, having done well against India with all the pressure on host India, I expected Afghanistan to come hard at us. They did so, but they could not manage a draw, which could have helped them or which could have put more pressure on India ahead of their match against Hong Kong.
Right, and then I mean, even before playing the last game, we got the news that we were qualified, because the game between Philippines and Palestine, if I'm not wrong, was one of the key factors that proved us proved in our favor, and we already had the result in us that we are going, and we've been qualified once again, back to back, that too for the first time, having back to back qualification for the Asian Cup. So somewhere talks were happening. Like even I tweeted in the lines that it's not job done yet. We still have one more match, and that's against Hong Kong, who have been impressive in this qualifiers. So getting that third win,
Most impressive, may I add.
yes, yes, absolutely, and getting the
Until the final match, they were the best team.
yes, absolutely, and getting that win is a must. Just can't keep our heads down and say, okay, our job is done, we've qualified, so that okay, we sit back. But somewhere, did you think that could be the approach of the national team until they fielded and the game started?
I don't think so. I mean, even Steamach and Sunil have known that no qualifying for the Asian Cup was the primary objective, but they still had a job to do. All the three teams were ranked lower than India, and then they needed one convincing win heading into the tournament proper. And they were not only higher ranked; they were playing at home. So I'm glad that they did not take the silly route of fielding a second string team, taking it easy. Oh, we have done the job. uh, I was doing Tamil commentary for that match, for the third match. So it was my first match in the qualifier. So I wanted the match to be competitive. I was so glad that it turned out to be ultra competitive. I have to give credit to Hong Kong also. Before the rain started, I thought they were slightly better than India. It was a very good match. The scoreline was slightly flattering, but it's okay. I mean, India deserved to win, and winning without conceding a goal was the icing on the cake. I must surely say.
Yeah, and when you say that, we wanted that one convincing win, despite the fact that we qualified or not, I mean, despite the fact that we've qualified, did you expect something like that for India to show up against Hong Kong, a 4-0 win? I mean,
No,
it
no,
is
no,
an
no, not
impressive
at all,
thing.
not at all, not at all. Because I thought no, the early goal is the pressure on India, is the pressure of India, and then playing without that tension of no qualification to the Asian Cup still on the line. That helped the team a great deal. Had the qualification depended on this Hong Kong result, I don't think it would have been a 4-0 result. That's what nerves can do to any team. India would surely have felt the nerves, but they played without pressure, and Hong Kong too played without pressure. So we have to consider that as well to put the result in perspective. Overall, was super happy that no we were able to beat very good Hong Kong young dynamic side so convincingly and without conceding a goal. And it was not a Sunil Chhetri hat trick, so it was even more important for us, no, when we look ahead to the future.
Right, absolutely. And when you look at this, as someone who's been covering sports and Indian football closely, how impressive and how important and key is this particular result? Because it's the first time that India has qualified for the Asian Cup back to back, consecutively. So how big is that for the Indian men's football team?
Extremely critical for us to go forward. We all know that we have a long way to go. Qualification for the Asian Cup is being celebrated. That should tell us where we stand. We have not qualified for the quarterfinals or the semifinals of the Asian Cup, not even the second round. We have just qualified for the tournament proper. So, is that a big achievement? Just imagine if we had not qualified. It would be a great tragedy. So, this qualification is important, but we should not lose sight of the reality, the distance we have to travel to become a force in Asia. If you take hockey, if you take volleyball, we are among the best in Asia. Even though the hockey and volleyball players don't get uh, as much support, even media coverage plus financial support, they are among the elite in Asia. or we is the Indian team uh, that good in Asia? No, we all know that. So this qualification is important, and you should not go overboard. That no, that is needless to say. What I'm most impressed about the fact that Sunil and Gurpreet were the only two players in the playing 11 who could we call veterans or above 30. All the remaining players were below 30. So that will they will be the core of the Indian team, not only in the Asian Cup, whether it happens in 2023 or 2024, even further ahead. That's very key.
Right. Now we've heard, I mean, from the time Stimac has been appointed and he's had matches under his belt and 2 years got washed off to pandemic and everything. We've all been harsh on him. And yeah, how did you know, going into this qualifiers, what were your expectations from him as a coach? From what you've seen from him in the past, and how is your reaction and thoughts after, now that's done? What do you think of him?
Siju, when it comes to the club coach, I'm super critical of him. Whichever competition I'm talking about. But when it comes to the national team, my sympathies tend to be with the coach, because uh, the development of the team is not fully dependent on him. He can choose a team from a pool of players that is available to him, unlike the club team, where I can get foreign players, quality foreign players, buy the best within the country, and beat the rivals through the resources at hand. It's not like that at the national level. And in a country like India, which doesn't have decent football fields in major cities. If you talk about Chennai, I was thinking the other day, I was counting the number of quality pitches, no surfaces in Chennai. Nothing except the Nehru Stadium, which requires a lot of work before the ISL. There is nothing, no pitch. Uh, I'm talking about a state which has a population of about 7.5 crores to 8 crores, which is, I mean, more than most of the European countries. That's how abysmal our infrastructure is. Talk about football in schools and colleges. The less said, the better. And I like the points raised by STMAC uh, before this Asian Cup qualifiers. Our market, no domestic market, is hugely inflated, and there is no relegation, and players, I mean, they are not being pushed to the limit. So that was a worry voiced by STMatch before the qualifiers. I mean, I used to be critical of him, like many of us, like many football fans, when there were some uh, strange selections uh, ever since he took over the mantle. But I mean, we have to consider all these facts before we jump on.
Right, absolutely. And I think even he's made some statements which you say rightly. I think I've spoken to some coaches before, and they do I've heard something similar, just as you mentioned, that when it comes to national team, they it kind of, sympathize with the coach there, because for all the points that you said. And he's also mentioned some strong points after all these games have been done, where he's spoken that I League should have only Indian players, and you should give us the camp time so that I can spend time with the preseason camp for any tournament. And how much an important key aspect is that, so because he stressed upon that, he had a 6 week long camp, and that's what, the intensity, the game, he got more time to spend with the players to get to know them. And it looks like he's finally probably found his 11 or 14 that he can play around with.
Yeah, yeah, Siju, that was important, no? Having a a solid camp ahead of an important event like this was critical. And I, 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 I totally agreed with him when he said that no, the I League should only be for Indian players. In fact, I heard it from him firsthand I met him during a commentary assignment in the studio in Mumbai. He said that no, there is no point in getting foreign players for I League teams. Make it completely Indian. You'll get talent from the tournament, because the problem with him with the national team is the same thing he told me. You ask for a fullback, 30 guys come forward. A goalkeeper, 20. Then you go to centre backs and then forwards, fewer and fewer. You know the answer. Every ISL club tends to use foreign centre backs and then foreign forwards. I mean, without getting adequate players in these key areas, how could one expect the national team, national coach to deliver against higher ranked teams? Because football is not like, let's say, hockey, uh, which is played by very few countries. Football is it's a global game, so every country plays well or wants to play well. They're making efforts. So was bang on, and I think the results of restricting the number of foreign players to 4 in the playing 11 in the ISL will pay India dividends. I fervently hope that that equation, that numbers don't change in the future. Saying no, AFC has changed it, we also have to change, and then we have to compete in the AFC Cup, AFC Champions League. I sincerely hope that we stick with this. Otherwise, we are not going to get forwards. We will be asking the same question: who next after Chhetri? That will be the case. So, give, given the limitations for the national coach, I think it's not done badly. There is always scope for improvement, but the points he has been raising are really valid. We football fans tend to have a go at the coach first. No, that is that I understand. I get that attitude. I mean, that's nothing criminal about that. But I think we have to give credit where it is due.
Absolutely. And I think now coming on to the team that actually played all these three matches, and as you mentioned, leaving Gurupreet and Chhetri aside, it was a young core team who we've been seeing play them playing for their respective clubs in the ISL, and they have been impressive. But to see them together in the bunch, playing with the likes of Chhetri and Gurupreet, it was definitely a joy to watch, right? And players like Sahal stepping up and getting that crucial winner against Afghanistan. And then it was just a celebration, I think. Just as you mentioned, there was pressure off the national team to perform or to qualify because it's already done, especially in the last match. So, you saw the likes of Manveer, Ishan coming up, and all of them getting goals. What do you have to say about these young players? Because, like I mentioned, we've seen them play for their clubs, but we just saw them play all of them together, and it was like, wow.
Yeah, wonderful. You hit the nail on the head, Siju. Absolutely fabulous. And what about Ashik Kurnian? The reinvention of Ashik Kurnian. We must credit Streamage for that, right? And I mean, coaches who play Ashik Kurnian as a left back or left wing back, I mean, unpardonable acts. He clearly doesn't relish playing as a defender. I mean, even either as a left back or a left wing back. I mean, left wing back is an euphemism for a left back in our league. That is in the ISL. Most of the time, he has to defend, drop deep, and then do the dirty job. I mean, he's not for it. I mean, you can't ask a player whose inclination is to go forward and attack to defend. That is the case with Ashik Kunyan. Was most happy about his performance in the qualifiers. So I saw joy in his game, which was clearly missing during his ISL matches in recent times. And as you mentioned, so delighted to see Manveer get a goal. And then Ishan, I felt should have had more playing time. Unfortunately, he has been dubbed a super sub, which I'm sure you would hate to his heart's content, that super sub tag. Nobody wants to be a super sub. They want to get more playing times and then establish themselves as main players. And I was super happy to see him get a goal. And Manveer, let's not forget, he had a good game against Afghanistan. He created a few short chances for Chhetri. And I mean, I was slightly not happy that no, he was dropped for the third match, that is against uh, Hong Kong. Maybe since Udanta was celebrating his birthday, coach wanted to give him a treat. We put him in Manveer's place. But anyway, I mean, he came on as a substitute and got a goal. Ishan, as you said, no, deserved more playing time. He got a goal like he always used to do in the ASL. And no, let's talk about the fullbacks. They'll be our future for quite some time to come. Guys in early 20s, Roshan and Akash, what brilliant players they are. So mature. And Akash, I mean, he got those awards in the Professional Players Association gala. So happy for him. Such an intelligent player, defends well, and is sharp, uh, fantastic football brain, superb going forward as well. What an asset he is to India. And the same with Roshan. In fact, against Afghanistan, I wanted him to take the free kick, but Chetri took it and buried it. But no, what a player he has been ever since he burst onto the scene for Bengaluru FC. Within a span of 1 year, he has established himself. I think Streamatch looks at them as his main components are, in defense. It's almost started, and Anwar, for him to score the opening goal after going through so much in his life because of his health issues. And what a I mean, bullet finish that was. They can go on. I mean, that warmed my heart the most, Siju. The performance of young players in the team. And if you ask me to pick one, I would say the I mean, brilliant performance of Ashik Kurnia against Afghanistan, even in the last match.
Yeah, and I was coming to talk about. I think fullbacks that performed need an episode just dedicated themselves because, if I'm not wrong, and you can correct me there, like I see some like Akash Mishra and Roshan Singh. Maybe it's their age that they have with them. They're just fearless, right? Even we've seen Akash play for Hyderabad as well, and he's given us some impressive seasons after season. Uh, they just don't get. They're not afraid of things. They just go at it, whether it's the ball, whether it's the person. And it's just too good to see that because it's something that we see in different context of maybe outside Indian football. And now I'm not going overboard and going gaga about it, but I think certain individual players have been improving really well, and we need to credit them for that. um so even Anwar Ali, I mean, what a testament that has been, that to even start in less than 2 minutes and give that goal. I think that probably only put the Indian team up there and pumped them up, to get those goals as well. And we've covered most of those players. Even we mentioned about Roshan as well. He was the talk of the town on Twitter, at least among many of the fans. How can we not talk about this one particular player who's been carrying the burden of Indian football for the past 17 years? I think it's just unfair when if we just move on, not mentioning about him, whatever surrounds Indian football's performance on the pitch, Sunil Chhetri. Um, you just can't stop him, right? I mean, he's even leveled the number of goals with Puskas, with a great Puskas. Um, what more can you say about him? You know, and even if you have to say the same things, please go on.
I mean, before we can uh, talk about the Sunil until tomorrow morning. I mean, there is so much to talk about him. Just want to add, to the points you raised about Akash. Versatility. You said he's fearless. Absolutely fearless. He's sharp, and he can do a lot of things. Defend, give assists in the last ISL season. I think he uh, gave 3 assists, if I'm not wrong, for a left back, more than Tapa, in fact, than a creative midfielder. Ashish Roy also had supplied a few assists. Fabulous. And this guy, Roshan, he can take corners, free kicks. I mean, he's a work in progress in defense, but that will come. He's only is quite young. So fantastic additions to the Indian team. I do hope that they're going to play for the national team for 10 years as forwarding left backs. Hats off to them. No, I just wanted to record my appreciation for the young duo. And coming back to Chhetri, so what else can we say about him? I mean, someone said, no, why are you comparing him to Ronaldo and Messi? We know who is Sunil, who is Ronaldo and Messi. I mean, leave alone those numbers, no, 84 goals, 83 goals. His passion, no, the fire in his belly to do well for the national team, I think is a legend. I mean, there is no doubt that he's a legend. I would look at him as a legend in Indian sport, not only in football. There is so much to learn from him for youngsters from other sports, from athletics, from badminton, you name it. In a demanding sport like football, to be on top of his game for 17 years is phenomenal. I mean, we'll have to celebrate him as long as he plays. I mentioned in the commentary that for Sunil Chetri, it should be like the retirement age should be like for the government employee, 60. I mean, such an asset, and I'm a huge fan of his passion more than his talent, because that passion drives his performance. Because at 37, it is not easy to be physically supreme in great condition, but the desire, the will to do well for the country uh, keeps pushing him, and I hope it pushes him forever. And he's 18 at heart, and the finish, no, marvelous finish. It's not going to win him the Pushkas Award, the goal, but the goal he scored against Hong Kong, it was beautiful. Leonardo da Vinci used to, there is a famous quote from him: the essence of sophistication is simplicity. That was that was there in his goal. Under in treacherous conditions, control the ball with an outstretched right hand, and then without losing foot, start the ball in with his left. It was pure class. Now, I like goals that are quite simple in execution. That's what geniuses quite often do. They make it look easy. It should go down as one of his greatest goals. You would have seen all those belters from outside the box, or bullet headers, lots of goals. But this should be a special goal. I will celebrate it as long as I can, because it was a goal like Chiesa's in the Euros last year against, I think, Austria. The match was tough, and Italy needed one hero to step up to the plate, and Chiesa did that. Missing Chiesa, in fact, saw Italy bounce out of the World Cup, Qatar World Cup. It was such a wonderful goal. I mean, not easy at all. It made it look so easy. I mean, what to say about his value, his contribution to uh, Indian. But I thought, no, there should be a statue of Sunil Chhetri even before he retires. We don't have a national stadium of our own in football. If there is one, it should definitely have a statue, because in modern foot, and we've had great players like Balram, Chuni Goswami, PK Banerjee, Jarnail Singh, so many legends, Piti Tangaraj. But in modern football, it is not so easy to be on top of one's game for nearly 15 years, for more than 15 years. Sunil Chetri has done it, and it's not. it stopped. So we can go on. There is nothing wrong in waxing lyrical about Sunil Chetri. Absolutely no. We should not worry about exaggeration, being going overboard or losing a touch with the reality. He is a legend.
Yeah, absolutely. And when you mentioned about this passion that he has and he brings, I think that feeds on to the young boys as well, or maybe he feeds on the energy from the young ones because you always see him constantly talking to them, pumping them up. If something's wrong, he's correcting them, and he's also somebody who gives them due credit for what they've done. Especially after the last match, he said it was not about me. It was just so happy to see the young ones score. Well, as you mentioned, we can definitely go on talking about him, and there is no harm and nothing wrong in that. But we
Yeah.
have an episode to end, so but I would not want to. I wouldn't have not wanted to end it on a sad note or not on a great note. But reality, we must hit one day or the other with the mess that's happening with the federation with Indian football. How do you see things going ahead from here on? Because now that we've qualified, now the talks are: do we continue with Stimac or what happens? We don't even have uh, heads of the body as of now. So, what do you see going ahead?
I seriously don't know, Siju, because the experience with COA uh, has not been great in other sports, because football administration in India is a complex affair. I don't know whether the committee of administrators will do a great deal of improvement to, I mean, can bring in a great deal of improvement in administration in a short span of time. I mean, it's a difficult question to answer, but unless the state associations start working overtime to tap in to the talent pool we have, it's going to be difficult. Because I must tell you about the Chennai association, the league in Chennai. About 6 7 years ago, it was one of the best in the country. In the super division, there are 12 teams. Almost 7 8 teams were private clubs. Earlier it used to be only institutional teams like Railway, Customs, Reserve Bank of India, State Bank. And they were pumping in money, the private clubs, pumping in money. The media coverage was good, but all of a sudden for 4 years there was no league. Without the state league, we're not going to get quality players. Susai, Romario, Nandakumar, Edwin, all of them came through that grind. Especially Susai, I've watched his progress from school to Chennai Super Division, his college career, and then to I League, and then to ISL. The progress was step by step and smooth. He learned quite a lot in the Chennai League, because you can run as many private academies you can possibly. I mean, you possibly can, but you're not going to get the uh, hard lessons of playing in a state or city league. That's where you're going to be tested by players from various backgrounds. It's going to be, uh, I mean, it is always a learning process. It's always a difficult learning process. If our youngsters miss that, I don't know. A change in the administration at the national level, whether they have the vision to effect changes all over the country, rouse state associations into action, I don't know. But yeah, it's always difficult when you have a not so professional uh, association running the sport in the country. I mean, it is the case with many other sports. Uh, it's always a difficult question um, on what will happen in the future.
Right, absolutely. Now, I just wanted to end with one of the tweets that Sandeep had, one of our own friends and journalists, he had posted on Twitter after the tournament got over. He went on to say that India has improved with every match here, and this has been the best performance. We are not denying that. He goes on to say, I think we have a first 11 or 14 now, just need to keep the core now. I just want to add to that, and I had replied to this tweet also, saying that I think to see the score continue with the way they're performing, we need to have more matches that they play with each other as a team, as a unit, and where also the coach gets more time with them. Not a 1 day or a 2 day, camp that they're just hurried into preparing for any tournament, whether it's a friendly game or anything. They just need to spend time really well so that the coaching staff works on them. And if we see results like this every tournament, I don't think you can stop Indian men's football team from improving from here on. So yes, it's messed up on the other side of things, but I think Indian football fans are living on hope, and we shall continue living on that. And to see at a time where things are happening well on the pitch, it is unfortunate, and as Sir mentioned, it's definitely not in our hands of how things might just go or turn around, and we'll just wait and see how it goes. Raghu sir, thank you so much for taking time out and for doing this. I absolutely enjoyed hosting you. Thank you so much.
Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot, Siju. Thanks a lot for your patience. I hope uh, listeners had something to learn from this ranting, from the ranting of mine.
No, no, absolutely. I mean, we always love you for what you do online as well. So it was, I mean, much look forward for me at least to get you on the show. So finally, I did, and I am grateful for that. But I am not going to say that it's going to be the last one. I hope I can get you on many more episodes.
Actually, I must congratulate you for keeping the focus on Indian football. The totally Indian football show that itself says your team's passion for Indian football. It's much needed. It's so easy to talk about City, Barcelona, Real, Messi, Ronaldo. We must talk about our football, local football. You're doing a great service, and congratulations. Keep doing it. I'm there for you anytime.
Thank
And
you.
congratulations to your team,
Thank you
team
so
as well.
much, sir. Thank, thank you for those kind words, and that's what keeps us going. So, shout out to all the Indian football platforms that have been doing some amazing work on all social media platforms. Bringing us news and other stuff and other podcasts. Keep doing that, and we'll continue with the Total Indian Football Show. This is it from my side for this episode. Please do like, follow, and subscribe to our podcast. We're available on all the audio leading platforms. You were listening to the Total Indian Football Show, and I was your host, Siju. Thank you so much.